Do you ever wish that someone else would mow the lawn for you so you had time to do other things? Well, check out this robot lawnmower. Welcome back to another Jeff Reviews for you. And as you saw, we are looking at a sweet new robotic lawnmower called Blade. You know what? Enough talking about this product. Let's get right into the review. Bad news this week, my lawnmower broke and it's in the shop and it's going to at least take a week or more to repair. But the good news is, look what was delivered today. It's my EcoFlow robotic lawnmower. They call this Blade. I will say that this is my most expensive purchase to date that I reviewed, and it retailed for right around $3,000, and that does include the cart that goes behind it. Man, I sure hope this is worth it. Let's do an unboxing, set this up, and test it out. Here we are unboxed. Of course, you can see the blade right here on the right. In the middle, we have our charging base. And of course, there on the end is our box. In there is still our antenna. We have some tie-down anchors, some screws, and even replacement blades. My first impression of the blade is this is pretty sweet. I will say I was not expecting how heavy this thing was. It was really tough to get out of the box. Because it's so heavy, they actually have this bar they recommend that you pick it up from. Therefore, you can push it back or pull it forward. Do not pick it up completely off the ground, but you can just push and pull back using this bar. The first thing we have to put together is the antenna bar, so you just find the threaded ends and screw it together. Now that our pole is assembled, we can grab the spiked base and screw it to the bottom of the pole. Now we have to thread the wire up the pole, and see how it says B2 right here. On the other end, it'll actually say B1. That's going to connect to the base, but this B2 is going to attach to the top of the antenna. So just fish it down the pole. It's really quick and easy. Now we are going to line up the two B2s, one from the top of the antenna, the other one that we fished down the pole, and we are going to screw it together and tighten it down. I wanted to make sure you understood what I was talking about. This is just a push connection that fits only in one way, and then you can just tighten it down right here. This makes the watertight seal and it holds it together. In just about 2 minutes, we were able to fish the wire down the pole, attach it to the antenna, and now we are going to be putting the antenna onto the pole, and this step is done. It should be noted that there's this grooved area that fits the wire. Make sure to snap it into place before staking this in the ground. With the wire installed, you can either push the antenna into the ground or step on the base to get it to go down all the way in the ground. I'm just going to leave it here temporarily because I am going to move mine, but just so you know, you just push this into the ground. On the back of the charging base, there are also wires that are labeled. So of course, I'm going to hook B1 to B1, and then I'm going to do A1 to A1, and that actually connects the charging cord to the base. You can see that we've connected A1 to A1 here, and of course, that's connected to our power, and now our base has power. This is not my permanent location. As I said before, I'm going to have to reorientate the antenna and the base to make sure I have a great signal. But what we're going to do now is we're going to put this on the base to start the charge. As we are charging, let's open up the app. Yes, we can allow for our exact location. Only when using this app. Okay, let's add a new device. Oh look, it already sees that we have one device found. Let's click on it. That's cool. From the app, the first thing it's asking you to do is to assemble the product. We've already done all that, so skip through. Now we want to search for a signal. It already makes me upgrade the firmware, so let's hit upgrade. Of course, we hit upgrade. We'll do online upgrade. And it looks like we have to search for a Wi-Fi. I just connected to my Wi-Fi. Now it's going to do the internet setup. I'm going to come back when this is all done. I had a little difficulty updating the firmware via Wi-Fi, so I guess I ended up doing it during Bluetooth because it made me hold my phone really, really close. Now it's asking me to connect to the mower's Wi-Fi, and that's what we're going to do now. We've already downloaded our app, so let's peel off the sticker. The firmware has been updated successfully. Let's click the back button. So I think we're still charging, but I want to see if we can search for our position. Click the start button to see what we find. Well, that's strange. Ours says 0. As you can see, it looks as though my satellite or my antenna signal is weak. I am going to try to move it around to see if I can get a better signal. I thought I was in an area that was looking at the sky without any obstructions, but let's move this around and see. I had to move my base and my antenna, and I get between an 88 and a 92% signal rating, which in my opinion seems very good. Well, I mean, as you can see, it varies. It looks as though this is a good spot for my antenna, so let's stick it in the ground. I tell you what, this setup part is frustrating. It originally told me that the base was in a good location, but when I tried it, it said nope, it was not, so I had to move this for the third time. Now I have a good location for my antenna and my base. Now that we finally have it set up, it is time for the fun part. Let's test out the mower officially. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Check that out, how cool! This part sure makes all the frustration earlier worthwhile. We get to drive around our robot lawnmower, and it's actually pretty responsive to your thumb moving around, and very cool. Check that out, we are successful. When I first got this, I was so excited. I rushed right into it and I mapped almost my entire property, and it just wasn't feasible for this lawnmower. So I deleted the map, and I'm gonna take you now to where I'm on, I think, day 2, and I'm gonna remap part of the property. Let's go check that out right now. Here we are on day 2, and I've learned a valuable lesson. I made my map crazy the first day. So what I've done now is I've actually deleted the map, and now I'm gonna set this up into zones. I like this idea a whole lot better. So here I go, let's create a map. I've already made sure all those things are good. Start mapping. All right, so what I'm gonna do here, of course, is I'm gonna do the work area. There the mower goes. I do think it's interesting you have to take the blade all the way around the property. I kind of wish I could have just walked around with my phone, but this is the process. You maneuver it around with this little joystick all the way around the property until you're officially mapped. Here we are approaching the base around our entire area, and I am complete. I'm going to map a restricted zone because I don't want the mower to go and try to figure out what's up with the slide. So I'm going to bring it right up here to the slide. I'm going to hit start and then take the mower right around the slide. And that way I know it's not going to get stuck here. And I will just come with the hedge trimmers and do this later, or the weed whacker. All right, you can see that I've reached now the top or the beginning of it. So I'm just going to click complete, and it's mapped. I will say, for the most part, the blade does a good job with mowing, and it actually is pretty quick. I don't know if you can tell, but you actually do have some sort of mowing lines as it goes back and forth in a uniformed pattern. I should say this has happened a few times. When it comes across an obstacle it does not remember or didn't have it on the exclusion, it just stops. I'm not sure if this is an internet thing where it takes some time to recalibrate, but then it takes off again. But this happens a little too often for me. I do think it's cool how if you have an area that is excluded or it's like a forbidden area, that'll actually come up, sense the area's there, take a turn, and head on out. We just got a message that the EcoFlow blade is stuck. I can't really see anything, so I will tip it over. But just goes to show you, even these expensive robot lawnmowers still need to be babysat. Because I tipped the mower upside down, I have to hit this and then go to reset it. Now the mower is no longer trapped. If you notice something's going wrong and you want to stop it, there is this big red button to stop it. I will say,
stopped in an emergency. Press the power button and start button to continue.
All right, so that means you're supposed to push the power button and then start button to resume. And I think now you're ready to go again. And there it goes. They just announced that it had a low battery. It spun around like 4 or 5 times. And I think it's going to go find the charger. Let's see what happens. There we go, that's the right direction.
Please assist in removing obstacles from the recharging route.
So I think it thinks something's in the way. Maybe it's the big tuft of grass in the front, but it's supposed to just drive forward and charge. I don't know if it will. Oh, there it goes.
Start charging.
Here's my wire right behind the charging base. You can see that I have about every foot or so a peg pushing down or a stake pushing the wire into the ground so that the blade does not run over it. If we take a look at the front, there's a camera and a LiDAR detector in there, and the camera actually uses AI software that supposedly you're able to distinguish grass from something else. Let's test that out. Oh yeah, see how it saw that ball? Not gonna hit it. So tell me, what are your thoughts of this robotic lawnmower? You like it? Not so much? Would you buy it or not at all? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. Want to access the battery? Just pop up right here, flip this part up, and there is your battery. Don't forget to pull the trigger. There you go. To get to go back in, you put the front side in first, click it down in the place, and you're done. As you can tell, I have been using this unit. I've actually been using it quite a bit, but I wanted to show you what the blade system looked like. They're just little tiny razor blades on the bottom here, and they do spin around freely. It's very similar to the setup on the Works Landroid. That part right there is plastic. I have an interesting observation. When I first started this out, I noticed that the blade had a lot of trouble. Like it would almost get confused where it would stop and have to think. And then I learned that my internet at my house was having network issues, and so my speeds were really, really reduced. Fast forward 2 days and it's back up and running to regular speeds, and this blade runs like it should. It doesn't think as much, it cruises through. When it comes up to a spot it doesn't know, it actually pivots really, really fast. So in my opinion, it looks as though this thing really needs a strong internet connection in order to work effectively. That's just something you should know, man. If your internet is poor, this may not be the best item for you. In this video, we are looking at a robotic lawnmower from EcoFlow called Blade. So what did we think of it? First things first, let's talk about that price. On its own, by itself, $2,500 or so. They do have discounts from time to time. In my opinion, that is very expensive. I was really frustrated with the entire setup. I didn't realize it was going to be so cumbersome. And where I have it now, there's not even an outlet. I have to run an extension cord just to where this is powered in because it had to have a clear view of the sky. Even though the first place I had it had a clear view, it just didn't work. I'm going to end up having to run a new electrical line and installing a new box just to have power at the base. Not to mention, I don't know why they don't have some sort of a garage, and maybe this is something that's going to come out later, but I don't like having it exposed to any of the elements, rain or sun. It gets pretty hot and sunny out here, and then just don't want to damage this expensive item. As for me, I put an umbrella over top of it. Let's look at the technology you get with Blade. You know what? This is a wire-free technology, meaning you do not have to bury the wire. It's got an intuitive app and a 10-inch mower deck. That is super sweet. When I first unboxed the Blade, my lawnmower had broken, so I hadn't even had a chance to mow the lawn that week. So I think the grass was longer than it was supposed to be, but this thing mowed right through it. It had to be 4 or 5 inches long, and it just cruised right through, and now it's down to a perfect 3-inch height. I thought, man, I'm actually pretty impressed. I will say there are some points of frustration, right? The AI type thing where it's supposed to detect non-grass versus grass. Well, I do notice that part of the lawn where maybe it was a little longer than the Blade would have liked to, it just skips right around it thinking maybe it's not grass, but when in all actuality it is. I also don't think it does a great job with the edging. I've run it now for a few days trying to do the edging, and it seems to have a lot of issues stopping, moving around, not wanting to get close to the boundary line. Hopefully that's something over time that is improved through firmware updates. I also think that it was interesting that it was very dependent on the internet. Over the weekend, the internet was down, not working very well, and this thing had a lot of trouble. But come Monday, internet's back up and working, and this thing cruised like you wouldn't believe. I think that's also an interesting point to note, that if your internet is poor, this thing might not work as well. I think it's neat how it has a uniform mowing pattern. I like that it goes back and forth, and although the stripes are small, it does make stripes on the lawn. It sure beats that random look that I have with my Landroid. Even though I think the Landroid does a great job mowing the lawn, I like the uniformity from Blade. I'm not quite there with the price. I do think it's very, very expensive, and I have another unit you've seen in this video, and that one, although has a wire boundary line, I think it does just as good of a job mowing as the Blade, and half the cost. All right, so I haven't actually tried out the sweeping kit yet. I do have it. I'm going to put that out in a subsequent video. Anyway, that was my full review of the EcoFlow Blade. It is pretty sweet, but it's also pretty expensive. If this is something that interests you, I will leave a link down in the description. This is Jeff with Jeff Reviews for You. As always, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day. I thought it'd be cool to give you a head-to-head of the EcoFlow blade and the Works Landroid. That's their L edition. They're about similar size. I will say that the blade looks a little more sleek, but you know what? This Landroid's been working on year 2 for me, and it's doing a great job. I really do appreciate that you stayed around for my entire review of the EcoFlow blade. You know what? During this video, I referenced the Landroid. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you right here my original review of the Landroid, and I would love it if you would click on this link. And when you do, by the magic of the internet, I'm going to join you right here. So go ahead, click it. It's safe. I promise.